Okay, so your starter is on the screen now, guys. As usual, 4 questions, about 4 or 5 minutes to answer those. If you can just pause your video and answer those questions, and then we'll go over the answers after. Okay, so here's the answers. So the first one then, you should have simplified that down to 1 over 8. Second question would have been 1 over 15 once you've simplified it. Third question, you'd have got 24 plus 18, which would have given you that Harry is 42 years old. And then the fourth question, you should have started off with 210 over 3,000, which would have simplified down all the way to 7 over 100. Okay, so today's lesson, we are going to be looking at comparing and ordering fractions. So if you can write the title down for me. Don't forget, at any part throughout this video, you can pause the video, you're working at your own pace. It is supposed to take 45 minutes long, because obviously it's the same as a normal lesson. Okay, so this is a type of question that you'll get, guys. Which fraction is bigger, 3 over 4 or 4 over 5? Now, one way of doing this is by doing it and looking at it in terms of diagrams. So if you look at the first diagram, okay, that one we've separated into 4 parts, and we've shaded 3 of those in, and the one underneath is the same length as the one above, but we've separated that one into 5 equal parts, and we need to shade 4/5 of those in. So as you can see by the diagram, the 4/5 diagram is actually more than the 3/4 one. So that's one way of seeing which fraction is bigger, okay? That's method 1. So another way of doing it is by thinking of a common denominator, okay? The denominator is the bottom number of a fraction. So if you get the denominator the same number, you can compare the fractions much easier, okay? So if we look at that, we've got 3/4 and 4/5. And if we look at the numbers 4 and 5, we need to think about what number is in both of their times tables. So if we look at the 4 times table and the 5 times table, we can see that the lowest common multiple is 20. So we're going to try and get the denominator of both of those fractions to be 20. Now, for the first one, in order to make the denominator 20, you start at 4. To get from 4 to 20, you're going to times by 5. So if you've times the bottom by 5, you always must remember to do the exact same to the top. So you're going to times the top by 5. 3 times 5 gives you 15. So for the next fraction, which is 4 over 5, to make 5 become 20, you times by 4. So again, do the same to the top that you do to the bottom. So 4 times 4 gives you 16, so it's 16 over 20. Now that the denominators are the same, you've got 15 over 20 and 16 over 20. These are much easier to compare. So we can see that the biggest fraction is 4/5, because that is 16 over 20, whereas 3/4 was 15 over 20, and 16 is bigger than 15, okay? So that's method 2, and that's the method that I want you to get used to using. That's the mathematical way of doing it, okay? We don't want to be drawing diagrams, but the diagram method, if we just go back and have a quick look, that is a good way to visualize it, okay? But I want you to get used to using method 2, which is obviously much more mathematical by getting the denominators the same. So what I want you to do, guys, using the method that I've just taught you, I want you to pause the video and I want you to have a go at the question that is now on the screen. So which fraction is bigger, 5 over 6 or 3 over 4? Pause now. Okay, so let's go over the answer then. So we needed a common denominator. So if we look at 3 over 4 and 5 over 6, so both have got a denominators of 4 and 6. So if we write down our 4 times table and our 6 times table, we can see that the lowest common multiple is 12. So that's what we're going to try and get both fractions to have, 12 as their denominator. So that one on the screen there should say 12, not 20, guys. So just ignore that for a second. So to get from 4 to 12, you're going to multiply by 3. So don't forget to do the same to the top. 3 times 3 gives you 9. Okay, it's corrected itself there. And for the bottom one, to make 6 be 12, you're going to multiply it by 2. Do the same to the top number. So we get 10 over 12. So it's clear to see which is bigger is 5 over 6. Okay, because that one had got 10 over 12 and the other one was 9 over 12. Okay. So well done if you got that right, really well done. So what you're going to do now, guys, is you're going to choose either the green questions to do or the orange questions, okay? The orange ones are slightly more tricky than the green ones. So depending on how you found those examples, either do green if you feel you need a bit more practice, or if you're feeling like you want to stretch yourself, you're going to do the amber questions. Pause the video, have a go at those, and then we'll go over some answers. Okay, so if you did the green questions, you will have found that 1/3 is bigger than a quarter, 1/2 is bigger than a third, 3/5 is bigger than a half, 2/7 is bigger than 1/4, and 2/3 is bigger than 4/9. If you did the orange questions, you will have found that 7/10 is bigger than 5/8, 7/9 is bigger than 3/4, 4/5 is bigger than 7/9, 5/9 is bigger than 8/15, and 9/4 is bigger than 7/5. So if you got to that bottom one, you will see that that was an improper fraction because the numerator was bigger than the denominator, okay? We call that an improper fraction because the numerator should always be smaller than the denominator. So if that one caught you out a little bit, don't worry, that was just a little bit more challenging. So in an exam style question, they're going to use two words. They're going to say to you to put fractions in order of a descending order or an ascending order. So the one on the screen says put them in descending order. Now descending means that you're going from the biggest number, so the biggest fraction, down to the smallest fraction. So for this example, you're going to put them in order from biggest to smallest. If you see the word ascending, that means you're going from smallest to biggest. So you might want to make a quick note of that on your notepads or in your books now. And pause the video and can you have a go at the question on the screen? Off you go. Okay, so let's think about how we would have worked these out, guys. All of these have got different denominators. So at the minute, we cannot compare or order those fractions until the denominators are all the same. So what you should have done is look at all those numbers, so 2, 3, 5, 10 and 15. And this time, you're going to try and find the lowest common multiple of all of those, okay? Now, that sounds quite tricky, but actually, if you think about all of those numbers, if you look at the biggest number, 15, and think about that times table, it goes 15, 30. So straight away, I know some of those numbers can be made into 15, but some can't. So if I think about the next number in the 15 times table, which is 30, all of those can be made into 30. So all of those have got 30 in their times table. So you should have made the denominators 30, okay? However you did that, don't forget, whatever you times the bottom by to get them to be 30, you have to times the numerator or the top number by the same. So when you put them in order, you should have got from biggest to smallest, 2/3, 1/2, 2/5, 3/15, and then 1/10, okay? So make sure you've marked the ones you've done. If you've made any errors, correct it now. So when you come to revise, you understand where you went wrong. And well done if you got them right. Okay, so these ones, guys, are exam questions. They've been taken from exam papers. And what you're going to do now is you're going to put these in ascending order. So remember what we said before. Ascending means you're going from smallest to biggest this time. So as you'll see, the purple ones have got some negative fractions in them. So if you look at the purple first one, that's minus 3/4, minus 5/6, minus 7/8, and minus 9/10. So you do the exact same method, get the denominators the same, okay? But just make sure that they're negative numbers. So when you order them, you need to bear that in mind. Pause the video. This should take you at least 5 minutes. I want you to do the red and the purple section. Pause the video, off you go, and we'll go over some answers in a second. Okay, so the first one, in ascending order, don't forget, which is smallest to biggest, you should have got 1/4, 8/20, 3/5, and then 7/10. Next one, 4/10, 3/6, 2/3, and 4/5. Next one, 7/12, 2/3, 3/4, and 5/6. So these ones are the extension tricky ones because they were negative fractions. So minus 9/10, minus 7/8, minus 5/6, and minus 3/4. So don't forget, smallest to biggest, okay? And the last extension question was minus 4/3, minus 1/6, 2 over 9, 7 over 12, and 3 over 2. So again, make sure you've marked those, corrected any incorrect ones, and let's move on. So, bit of a progress check, guys. What I want to do is see how much you have learned from today's session. So, these questions are all taken from tests or exam papers. Some of them are wordy, so it's just getting you used to that style of questioning, but it's all based on what we've been learning today about comparing fractions and ordering them. So, pause the video and have a go at these questions. This should take you between 8 and 10 minutes, and we'll go over some answers in a second. Okay, so answers then. The first one, I've put the correct symbols in there for you, so you just need to look at those symbols and make sure you've put the right ones in. The second one would have been no. Okay, does she have a larger portion? No, she doesn't. What is a fraction that is halfway between 3/5 and 5 over 15? So again, for that one, get the denominators the same. So for that one, you just had to change the 3 over 5 to make it have 15 as a denominator. Okay, so to do that, you would have got 9 over 15, and a number that's between 5 over 15 and 9 over 15. You could have had 6 over 15, 7 over 15, 8 over 15. Any of those were in between. They've just put 7 over 15, but you could have had any of those. Circle 2, the two largest fractions, that was 3 over 4 and 5 over 6. Putting these in order then, guys, 5 over 27, 2 over 9, 7 over 27, and 1/3. And then the last question, don't forget, get the denominators the same, okay? And you could have had 21 over 24, okay? Don't forget as well, if you change that first fraction, so if you made that 12 by times in by 2, that would have got you 10 over 12. Now, there isn't a whole number between 10 and 11, so that's why you had to make the denominators 24, okay? So it didn't help you getting the denominators as 12 for that one. So mark the ones you've done, give yourself a mark out of 6, and any that you got incorrect, just have a look at what the right answer should have been and correct your answers. Right, that's the end of today's lesson. You've done really, really well, okay? I'll be back to lesson tomorrow, so it'll be a normal live lesson tomorrow. So really well done. And can you send me over your work? So send me over a picture of the work that you've completed today via email, or you can put it on our group chat, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.